Drake just officially dragged his Kendrick Lamar lawsuit into 2026, and the internet is losing it right now. While every single rapper you can name is dropping albums, building legacies, and dominating the culture, Drake is literally spending his time in legal battles over diss tracks that ended 2 years ago. You're seeing this right. The man who once ruled hip-hop is now choosing courtrooms over studios. And what I'm about to break down is gonna blow your mind. This isn't just petty celebrity beef anymore. Drake is actively trying to change the entire foundation of rap battle culture, challenging free speech in hip-hop and fighting a legal ruling that already shut him down once. This is career-defining, legacy-destroying territory, and the receipts I've got will show you exactly how deep this goes. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. You won't want to miss what comes next. So here's what ignited this situation right now. As we enter 2026, Drake's legal team just filed new motions pushing his defamation lawsuit against Kendrick Lamar forward into this year. This comes after Judge Mary Vargas dismissed the original case back in October 2025, ruling that rap lyrics are protected artistic expression and audiences understand diss tracks aren't literal statements of fact. But instead of accepting that ruling and moving on like literally every other rapper in history, Drake is doubling down. His lawyers filed appeals and new legal arguments within the first weeks of January 2026, specifically targeting the judge's dismissal and calling her reasoning dangerous to public discourse. Dangerous. Drake literally called a ruling that protects rap lyrics as artistic expression dangerous. That's where we are right now. And listen, it gets worse from here. Within 48 hours of these new filings hitting the court system, hip-hop Twitter absolutely exploded. Industry insiders started leaking details about Drake's legal strategy, and what they revealed is wild. Drake's team is arguing that Kendrick's lyrics on tracks like Not Like Us and Meet the Grams constitute actual defamation because they accuse Drake of serious misconduct. They're claiming that even though these are diss tracks, the foundation of rap battle culture for 40 years, they should be treated as factual statements that damage Drake's reputation and career. The legal documents specifically cite lost streaming numbers, damaged brand partnerships, and public perception shifts as evidence of harm. Meanwhile, as this is unfolding, Kendrick Lamar is literally on a worldwide tour selling out arenas. A$AP Rocky just announced his new album rollout, J. Cole is teasing new music, and Drake is in legal meetings. The contrast is insane. Social media immediately started roasting Drake, with hashtags like Drake the Snitch and 6God in court trending within hours. As of right now, this moment, Drake's legal team is preparing for hearings scheduled throughout early 2026. The case is active, ongoing, and consuming massive amounts of Drake's time, money, and public attention. Meanwhile, Drake hasn't announced any new album, hasn't dropped any significant music, and seems entirely focused on this legal battle. Industry sources are just now reporting that multiple collaborators have distanced themselves from Drake because they don't want to be associated with someone suing over rap lyrics. Label executives are reportedly frustrated because Drake is one of their biggest assets, but instead of generating revenue through music, he's generating headlines through lawsuits. And here's what makes this even wilder. Judge Vargas's original ruling literally stated that rap audiences are sophisticated enough to distinguish between artistic expression and factual claims. Drake is essentially arguing that ruling is wrong, that rap fans aren't smart enough to understand metaphor, and that lyrics should be legally actionable. That's the hill he's choosing to die on as we enter 2026. Let me break down the receipts here because this is where it gets absolutely undeniable. The legal documents filed in January 2026 are public record, and I've gone through them. Drake's lawyers specifically cite lyrics from Kendrick's Meet the Grams, where Kendrick addresses Drake's alleged behavior and personal life. The lawsuit claims these lyrics constitute defamatory statements because they suggest Drake engaged in inappropriate conduct. Now here's the exact language from the filing. The defendant's lyrics, while presented as artistic expression, make specific factual allegations that have caused measurable harm to the plaintiff's reputation, career, and business relationships. They're not arguing the lyrics are mean or harsh, they're arguing they're legally false and damaging. The filing includes a breakdown of Drake's streaming numbers from mid-2024 through late 2025, showing they attribute directly to Kendrick's diss tracks. They've got spreadsheets, revenue projections, and brand partnership analyses showing millions in alleged losses. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The legal team presents social media analytics showing how public perception of Drake shifted after Not Like Us went viral. They've literally got charts tracking negative sentiment, meme proliferation, and reputation damage quantified through algorithmic analysis. One exhibit shows how the phrase certified pedophile, which originated from Kendrick's wordplay on Drake's album title, became associated with Drake's name in search results and social media mentions. Drake's lawyers are arguing this constitutes reputational harm that goes beyond typical rap beef. They're saying Kendrick didn't just diss Drake, he allegedly spread false information that audiences believed is fact. Now let's layer in the additional evidence that makes this even more complex. Judge Vargas's October 2025 dismissal is a key document here. In her ruling, she wrote, "Rap music has a long tradition of hyperbolic, metaphorical, and confrontational lyrics. Audiences within the hip-hop community understand diss tracks as artistic competition, not factual reporting. To treat these lyrics as defamatory statements would fundamentally misunderstand the genre and chill artistic expression." That's a direct quote from the court record. She went further, citing precedent from cases involving Eminem, 50 Cent, and other rappers where courts consistently ruled that rap lyrics are protected speech. She specifically noted that Kendrick's tracks were clearly presented as part of a rap beef, released on music platforms and consumed by audiences who understand the context of competitive dissing culture. But Drake's new filings are attacking this reasoning directly. His legal team argues that streaming platforms and mainstream media coverage elevated Kendrick's diss tracks beyond traditional rap beef context, giving them factual weight they wouldn't have had in previous eras. They're essentially saying that because Not Like Us became a #1 hit on Billboard, because mainstream news outlets covered the allegations, because the songs reached audiences outside core hip-hop fans, the lyrics should lose their protected status as artistic expression. One filing actually states, "When defamatory content achieves mainstream commercial success, it transcends artistic expression and becomes factual assertion in the public consciousness." Here's the receipt that changed everything and explains why this lawsuit is so significant. In December 2025, just weeks after Judge Vargas dismissed the case, Drake's team submitted a new legal brief that explicitly argues rap lyrics should be treated differently than other forms of artistic expression when they make specific allegations about identifiable individuals that cause measurable harm. This isn't just about Drake versus Kendrick anymore. This legal argument, if successful, would fundamentally change how rap battles work. Imagine every rapper having to worry that aggressive diss tracks could result in defamation lawsuits. Imagine Nas getting sued over Ether, or Tupac facing legal action for Hit 'Em Up, or Jay-Z being taken to court over Takeover. The brief goes further. It argues that the internet age has changed the game, that social media amplification means diss track lyrics reach audiences who don't understand hip-hop context, and therefore rappers should have legal liability for lyrics that damage reputations. Internet detectives immediately connected this argument to Drake's broader career strategy. Multiple legal analysts pointed out that if Drake wins this case, it creates precedent that essentially gives wealthy rappers legal weapons against competitors. The smoking gun isn't just the lawsuit itself, it's the legal framework Drake is trying to establish that would give him and others like him power to sue any rapper who disses them too effectively. That's why this matters beyond just Drake's hurt feelings. The hip-hop community's response to this has been brutal. Joe Budden, on his podcast just days after the new filings dropped, said, "Drake is doing something that goes against every single code in hip-hop. You cannot sue somebody over a diss record. That's not how this works. That's never been how this works." Budden specifically called out the hypocrisy, reminding audiences that Drake built his career on aggressive diss tracks aimed at Meek Mill, Pusha T, and others. Academics, usually a Drake defender, seemed conflicted, saying on stream, "I get why Drake is mad, but legally? Man, I don't know about this one. This sets a precedent we might all regret."
Even more telling, Kendrick Lamar himself has remained completely silent on the legal proceedings, which many interpret as the ultimate power move. Kendrick is literally on tour, performing Not Like Us every single night to sold-out crowds, while Drake fights in court. That silence is loud. J. Cole, who was briefly involved in the beef before backing out, tweeted something cryptic. "Real ones handle beef on wax. Always have, always will." The internet immediately connected that to Drake's lawsuit. Internet has been ruthless. Within hours of the January 2026 filings going public, hashtag Drake the Snitch was trending worldwide on Twitter/X. One viral tweet with over 500K likes said, "Imagine Tupac suing Biggie. Imagine Nas suing Jay-Z. Imagine Eminem suing anyone." You can't, because real rappers handle beef with bars, not lawyers. Hip-hop Reddit communities have been dissecting every angle, with the consensus being that Drake has fundamentally misunderstood what makes hip-hop culture work. Fan theories are everywhere. Some speculate Drake is trying to legally force Kendrick to settle and issue some kind of retraction. Others think Drake genuinely believes he can change the legal landscape around rap lyrics. The hashtag Protect Rap Lyrics started trending as a counter-movement, with fans and artists advocating for the protection of artistic expression in hip-hop. Major outlets are covering this as a landmark case. Complex published a deep dive titled "Drake vs. Free Speech: What This Lawsuit Means for Hip-Hop." The Shade Room has been posting daily updates with massive engagement. Billboard ran an analysis of how the lawsuit could affect Drake's commercial viability, noting that several brand partnerships have quietly ended since the legal battle intensified. Industry insiders are reportedly advising young rappers to avoid collaborating with Drake right now because the lawsuit creates legal uncertainty. One anonymous A&R told XXL, "Nobody wants to work with someone who might sue you if things go south." Here's what people didn't expect. Legal scholars are now weighing in, with First Amendment experts warning that Drake's lawsuit could threaten artistic expression beyond hip-hop. One constitutional law professor told Rolling Stone, "If Drake succeeds, it opens the door to lawsuits against any artist whose work criticizes or mocks public figures. This has implications for comedy, satire, and political speech." That's wild. Drake's personal beef with Kendrick could literally impact free speech law. Let me break down exactly how we got here. The beef between Drake and Kendrick really ignited in early 2024 when Kendrick dropped verses escalating tensions that have been simmering for years. By mid-2024, the situation exploded, with Kendrick releasing Euphoria, 616 in LA, Meet the Grams, and the devastating Not Like Us, all within weeks. Drake responded with tracks like Push-Ups and The Heart Part 6, but the consensus in the hip-hop community was clear. Kendrick dominated the battle. Not Like Us became a cultural phenomenon, hitting #1 on Billboard, being performed at the Super Bowl, and cementing Kendrick's victory. By late summer 2024, most people considered the beef over, with Kendrick as the clear winner. But instead of accepting the L and moving forward with music like every other rapper in history has done after losing a battle, Drake's team started exploring legal options. By September 2024, rumors of a potential lawsuit started circulating. In October 2024, Drake officially filed defamation claims. The case moved through the system, and in October 2025, Judge Vargas dismissed it, ruling that rap lyrics are protected artistic expression. Most people thought that was the end, but Drake immediately filed appeals, and now in January 2026, he's pushing the case forward with new legal arguments and strategies. Here's what connects all of this. Drake has a history of using power and influence when he feels disrespected. Remember the Meek Mill beef? Drake didn't just destroy Meek with back-to-back. He used industry connections to blackball Meek from certain venues and opportunities. With Pusha T, when the story of Adidon exposed Drake's hidden son, Drake reportedly tried to use his relationship with Kanye West, Pusha's label boss, to squash the beef through back channels. The pattern is clear. When Drake can't win through music alone, he tries to use power, influence, and now legal force to control the narrative. There's also a business angle people are missing. Drake's deal with Universal Music Group reportedly has performance clauses related to public image and brand partnerships. If Drake can prove in court that Kendrick's lyrics caused measurable financial harm, he might be able to renegotiate contract terms or claim damages from UMG. That's potentially why the label hasn't publicly supported him in this lawsuit. There are conflicting financial interests at play. The financial stakes here are massive. Legal experts estimate Drake is spending millions on this lawsuit. Top-tier defamation lawyers, appeals, expert witnesses, and court costs. But the potential financial recovery if he wins could be even larger. Drake's team is claiming tens of millions in damages from lost streaming revenue, canceled brand deals, and reputational harm. However, there's a huge risk. If Drake loses this case after all these appeals and legal battles, it cements his legacy as someone who couldn't handle losing a rap battle and tried to sue his way out. That's career-defining in the worst way possible. Multiple brand partnerships have already distanced themselves. Reportedly, Nike and Apple, two of Drake's biggest partners, have reduced their public association with him during this legal battle because they don't want to be tied to a figure suing over artistic expression. On a personal level, this reveals something deeper about Drake's mindset. Every great rapper has lost battles or faced humiliating moments. Jay-Z had Ether, Eminem had the Mariah Carey situation, 50 Cent had Kanye outselling him. But they all moved forward and rebuilt their legacies through music. Drake seems unable or unwilling to do that. Psychologically, this suggests an inability to accept defeat, a need for vindication that transcends hip-hop norms, and a willingness to damage his own reputation in pursuit of legal victory. Multiple people close to Drake have reportedly tried to convince him to drop the lawsuit and focus on music, but he's refused. That stubbornness is now defining his 2026. Look, let's be fair and present Drake's strongest arguments here. From his perspective, Kendrick didn't just diss him, Kendrick made specific allegations about Drake's character and behavior that millions of people now believe as fact. When Not Like Us calls him a certified pedophile through wordplay and Meet the Grams suggests deeply inappropriate conduct, those aren't just clever punchlines, they're reputation-destroying accusations that have real-world consequences. Drake's lawyers argue that the internet age has fundamentally changed how diss tracks function. In the 90s, rap battles stayed within hip-hop audiences who understood the context. But in 2024, 2026, Kendrick's tracks reached hundreds of millions globally, many of whom don't understand hip-hop culture and might genuinely believe the allegations as fact. Drake's lawyers point to measurable harm, lost partnerships, decreased streaming, social media harassment, as evidence that this goes beyond typical rap beef. They argue that if someone can destroy your career and reputation with false allegations wrapped in a catchy beat, there should be some legal recourse. Drake hasn't made defamatory allegations himself in this beef, arguably, so from his perspective, he's being held to a different standard. His team says they're not trying to kill free speech, they're trying to establish boundaries where artistic expression crosses into harmful defamation.
But here's the thing. Kendrick's side doesn't even need to respond legally because the culture has already decided. Rap battles have always involved harsh, exaggerated, reputation-attacking lyrics. That's literally the point. When Nas called Jay-Z every name in the book on Ether, when Tupac accused Biggie of setting him up, when Eminem went after Machine Gun Kelly's manhood and career, nobody sued. Why? Because rap beef is understood as competitive artistic expression, not courtroom evidence. Drake never stated his lyrics as facts, he released them as diss tracks on music platforms as part of a rap battle that Drake actively participated in. Drake threw shots first in multiple tracks, so he entered the arena willingly. You don't get to participate in a rap battle, lose decisively, and then sue because the other person's disses were too effective. That's fundamentally against every code hip-hop has ever had. Objectively, the legal precedent is heavily against Drake. Multiple court cases have established that rap lyrics are protected artistic expression under the First Amendment. Judge Vargas's ruling aligns with decades of legal precedent. Drake would have to prove that Kendrick's lyrics were presented as factual statements rather than artistic expression, that they're provably false, that Kendrick knew they were false, and that they caused measurable harm. That's an extremely high bar in defamation law, and it's even higher when the speech in question is artistic expression. Legal experts almost universally agree Drake's case is weak on the merits. But here's why this matters beyond just Drake and Kendrick. This case could set precedent that fundamentally changes hip-hop. If Drake wins, every rapper with money can sue competitors over diss tracks. That would chill artistic expression, make rap battles legally risky, and essentially give wealthy artists power to silence critics. This isn't just about hurt feelings, it's about whether hip-hop culture can continue operating on the principles of competitive verbal combat that have defined it for 40+ years. And the fact that Drake is willing to risk his legacy to pursue this legal strategy tells you everything about where his head is in 2026. Here's what I think happens in the next few weeks. Drake's legal team will continue pushing for hearings and appeals, likely trying to get a different judge who might be more sympathetic to their arguments. I expect them to refine their legal strategy, possibly focusing on the mainstream amplification angle, arguing that because Kendrick's diss tracks reached audiences beyond hip-hop, they should lose protected status. We'll probably see more legal documents leaked or filed publicly, giving us additional insight into Drake's strategy. Based on his pattern of behavior, Drake is not going to drop this voluntarily. He'll push it as far as the legal system allows. Within the next few months, I expect the damage to Drake's reputation in hip-hop culture to become permanent. Every day this lawsuit continues, Drake looks weaker, more desperate, and more out of touch with the values that built his career. Industry relationships will continue eroding, fewer features, fewer collaborations, more artists publicly or privately distancing themselves. I also think we'll see a significant drop in Drake's streaming numbers and cultural relevance throughout 2026 if he doesn't drop major music to counter this narrative. Meanwhile, Kendrick will continue dominating, his tour, his music, his legacy all growing while Drake fights in court. The contrast will become impossible to ignore. Long-term, if Drake loses this case definitively after exhausting all appeals, his legacy will forever include the rapper who sued over a diss track. That's devastating for someone who wants to be remembered as one of the greatest. Even if he wins, which is unlikely, he'll be remembered as the rapper who changed hip-hop culture in a negative way, who weaponized the legal system against artistic expression. Either outcome damages his legacy permanently. Here's what could change everything. If other artists get involved through amicus briefs supporting Kendrick's position, if the case attracts significant media attention that embarrasses Drake publicly, or if someone from Drake's inner circle speaks out and reveals that people close to him have been advising against this lawsuit. There's also the possibility that Drake's label or business partners pressure him to settle or drop the case because it's damaging their business interests. Any of these factors could force Drake's hand. But right now, as of January 2026, Drake seems committed to this path, regardless of consequences.
Here's what the mainstream coverage isn't fully addressing. Drake isn't just fighting Kendrick Lamar, he's fighting the culture that rejected him. When Kendrick won that battle in 2024, it wasn't just about clever bars or better songs. It was the culture saying, "We see through you, we know who the real one is, and it's not you." That's what Drake can't accept. This lawsuit is a rejection of hip-hop's judgment. Drake is essentially saying, the culture got it wrong, so I'm taking this to a system where money and lawyers matter more than authenticity and skill. That's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say directly. This lawsuit is Drake choosing white institutional power structures, the legal system, over black cultural judgment, hip-hop's consensus, and the culture sees that clearly. In my opinion, and I'm going to be straight about this, Drake is wrong, and not just legally. He's morally wrong from a hip-hop perspective. Rap battles have always been ruthless, reputation-attacking, career-threatening combat. That's the point. You don't enter the arena unless you're prepared to face the consequences of losing. Drake participated willingly, lost decisively, and now wants legal protection from the outcome. That's weak. That goes against everything hip-hop stands for. Kendrick played by the rules of rap. He delivered devastating diss tracks that destroyed Drake's reputation through superior artistry, sharper writing, and cultural authenticity. Drake is trying to change the rules after losing because he can't handle the L. That's not just wrong, it's antithetical to hip-hop culture. This reveals something massive about celebrity culture and power. Wealthy artists believe they can use money and legal systems to override cultural judgment. Drake has so much money and influence that he genuinely thinks he can lawyer his way out of a lost rap battle. If he succeeds, it sets a precedent where money matters more than artistry in hip-hop conflicts. That's terrifying for the future of the culture. Honestly, this whole situation makes me sad for hip-hop. Drake was great. He had classic albums, undeniable hits, and shaped the sound of an entire era. But instead of accepting that his time at the top is ending, that younger and hungrier artists are taking over, he's choosing legal battles over musical evolution. I hope he realizes before it's too late that this lawsuit will define his legacy more than any album he ever made, and not in the way he wants. But I don't think he will. I think Drake's ego and pride will push this case as far as it can go, and we'll all watch his reputation crumble in real time throughout 2026. Thanks for watching Celebsphere. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.